I will give in detail explanation of a function called InStr in this tutorial video. I will also explain how we can call this function into automation script, how this function return value, how we can use that value in the script, and give hands-on example of different scenarios. And I will also give example of area where this function is widely used in the automation script based on my experience working in many different IT companies. Before I explain all of this, let me write something in the script. So this is UFT open, Unified Functional Testing, this UFT tool open. So first of all, I will declare two variables. So I have declared two variables. Variable name would be S1 and S2. So two variables I have declared. One is called S1, other one is called S2. Now I will initialize two values into these two variables. So I have initialized one value into variable S1, and this is a string because this value is within the double quote. So any value within double quote in Visual Basic Scripting or in UFT or in QTP is a string. So that is a data type. So I have assigned one string into variable S1. Now I will assign another string. So I have assigned another string into another variable. So now at this time I have two variables declared and two strings are initialized into two variables. This is variable, this is a string value. This is another variable, this is a string value. Now go to the point. It is saying what is InStr function. InStr function, if I go to the definition, it says returns the position of the first occurrence of one string within another. What it means? This is one string and this is another string. This function will check whether this string exists in this string or not. If it exists, then it will return the numeric position from the left side. So if I visually look, is Imran, this string, present in this name? Yes, it does present. So it will return the numeric position from the left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So this string is present within this string at the 14th location from the left side. And since this Imran or this string present only one time, so this is the first occurrence. If there were like two Imrans, like IM. So now there are two occurrences of this string. This string present two times, 1 and 2 times, then it will return the numeric position of the first appearance from the left side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If string 1, if this string 1 is like this, if string 2 appears 2 times in string 1, then first appearance position will be returned from the left side. That's what it means. Returns the position of the first occurrence of one string within another string, and this definition is given in the UFT1 official website. If I go to a different website, also has the same definition. So now we know what is the definition. I have shown what is the definition. Now I will say how we can call this function into automation script. This is one automation script, and I need to call that function. If I go to the formula or syntax, we can say syntax, we can also say formula. This is the function name InStr, and it has 4 input arguments: 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 input arguments in this function. And how we can call this function? By just writing the name. So I will write the name InStr, first bracket. Now this function has 4 input arguments. First one is from where the count will start. If I write 1, then the count will start from 1. For example, let's say in string 1, Imran is on the 14th place. This string 2 is present in string 1 at the 14th place from the left side. If I start counting from 1, this is 1, then it is the 14th. If I start counting from 10, then it would be the 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I started counting from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually 5. Now, so 1 is from where it will start counting. I will say from the beginning. So I write 1, comma. Now, if I go here in the syntax, it says string 1. String 1 means where to search. We want to search this string within this string. So where to search? String 1. So I am passing a variable called S1. This S1 variable contains this value or contains this string, and then comma. If we go to the formula, I will say string 2. String 2 is what to search. This value to search. So this value is assigned into this variable. So I will say S2. S2 is string 2. String 2 is the value, S2 is the variable. So I am giving this variable as input argument value in this function. This function takes 4 input argument value. These are the 3, and the 4th one is compare mode, whether it will do the textual comparison or binary comparison. So if it is 0, that means binary comparison. If it is 1, that means textual comparison. So what it will do, if I write 0, that is binary comparison. If I write 0, then this function will convert this string into binary values like 111001111, something like that. It will also convert this value into binary, and then it will search. If I write 1, it will not convert into binary values, it will search as it is. It will search with this text, whether this text, this string presents in this string or not. That will be checked based on the texts. So that's what 1 means. Now I know how to call this function. This is the function. Writing the name and giving 4 input arguments. This is one integer value, this is another integer value, and these two are variables which are holding 2 string values. Now since this function return a value, I want to store that return value into another variable. So I will say v output. So this is another variable. So I need also declare this one. I need to declare this one as well. So v. So this function, now this function will check whether this string present in this string or not. If it presents, it will return the numeric position and store in this variable, and we can use that variable in the script. So we can say print v output, then it will print in the console, or we can say message box v output, so it will display in the message box. Now what it should return? It should return 14, because this string present within this string at the 14th place. Let me see what happens. Yes, it displayed 14 in the message box. So I have declared 3 variables. I have initialized 2 string values into 2 variables, and then I call this function, give these 4 input arguments. This function compares these 2 strings, and based on the comparison it returned the number 14 into this variable, and this variable's value, which is 14, was displayed in the message box because of this function. So now we know how to call this function, how to get this function's return value into variable, and then use later in the script. So how to call these functions that I have explained. Also give hands-on example. Also how to use in the return value, that also I have said. This function will return a value which will be stored in this variable, which variable later we can use throughout the entire script. This is the third one. I can say I have explained hands-on in detail. Now give a hands-on example of different scenarios. If I go, it has different scenarios. These are the scenarios. So I'm copying these scenarios, pasting here. Since I have pasted, I already explained this one. If string 2 is found within string 1, then it will return the position at which match the first match was found. So I have already explained this one. This is the one. It found in string 2 is found in string 1 at the 14th place, so it returned 14th. That was I have explained. That is the scenario 1. If string 2 is found within string 1, then this function will return the position at which first match is found. First match is found. So I have explained this one. Now another one is if string 2 is not found, then it will return 0. What if here value is lemon? This is my full legal name, this is my nickname. Now if I search, is this string present here? No. So it will return 0. If string 2 is not present in string 1, if string 2 is not found in string 1, then it will return 0. If string 2 is not found, then it will return 0. So let me run this one now. It returned 0 because string 2 is not present in string 1. This string is not present in string 1, therefore it returned 0. So I give hands-on example of this one as well. And if string 1, if they start, what is called a start? If I go to the formula, I will see the first number that we write in the function call, that is called a start. If I go here, this is the function call. I call the function here and I put 4 input arguments. The first input argument's value is called a start. Now if I go here, if a start is bigger than the length of string 1, then it will return 0. A start should be bigger than the length of string 1. So what is the length of string 1? This is string 1. This is string 1. It has length 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So there are total 18 letters including a space. That is the length. So if a start is 20, what if the start is 20? That means I am saying do the search from the 20th place. So if the start is 20, it will return 0. This is the scenario. If the start is bigger than the length of string 1, the length of string 1 is 18, and I randomly put one star, that is 20, which is bigger. 20 is bigger than 18. So now I will run it and it should return 0. It should return 0. It did return 0. Actually it returns 0, which is stored in this variable, and then this variable is used in this function. This function returned 0. I mean displayed 0. So I will mark this one that I have given hands-on example for this one. Now this one, if string 1 is empty string, then it returns 0. If string 1 is empty string, it can also be written like this. If string 1 is 0 length, the length is 0. How many letters within the string is 0. The same thing. If string 1 is empty string, if string 1 is empty string, then it returns 0. So I will be making it empty. String 1, I have removed all the letters. So this is an empty string. It has length 0. Length 0 means it doesn't have any letter inside in it. Now if I run it, it should return 0. It did return 0. So I give hands-on example of this one as well. Now this one, if string 2 is also empty string or the length is 0, then also it will return a start. A start means whatever value is written here. So let me put 1 and let me write here my full legal name, and this one I make it empty string. This is a empty string, or this is a string who has length 0, which means inside of this double quote there is no letter, no special character, no nothing. It's completely empty. Now if that is the case, it will return a start. Now what is a start? A start is the first input argument, the first value I wrote within the double quote, and that is 1. So it should return 1. If string 2 is empty string, then it should return a start, and a start is 1, therefore it should return 1. It should display 1 in the message box as well. It returned 1. So I give hands-on example of this one. Now this one, if string 2 is null, then this function will return null. Now a string cannot be null. A string cannot be null. If I go here, if string 1 is null. Now I put this one as now if I write this one like this, NULL, so this is still a string. It is not null. The moment I remove this double quote, it's not a string anymore. It becomes null. The color changed, and it is a special character. It refers empty space. And now based on the formula, if I go to the formula or the syntax, it says this would be integer value, this also would be integer value, but these two must be a string. That means these two must be within the double quote. A string is within double quote. It must be a string. So I cannot assign a variable. I cannot assign null into a variable and use that variable as input argument value into this function. That is illegal. Or that doesn't. This function doesn't take a variable as input argument value which has a value other than a string. Any value which is not a string, this function will not take. This function will take only a variable which has a string, which has a string value. So these two are invalid statement. If I try, it will return a run error, general run error. I can say it like that. So I change this one. Now if I run it, it will display general run error. It says the run error. If I go run error, it displays general run error. If I do error handling, like write on error, next, then it will not display the error message. It will display here. Description. Now it will display what type of error it is. I'm doing the error handling as this function doesn't take a variable which has a value anything other than a string. This function doesn't take for these two variables. So these two are invalid, or it returns a general run error. General run error. This also returns general run error. General run error. Because if I see the formula or the syntax, first is an integer value, last also is an integer value, but these two are a string. So now if I assign anything other than a string, this function will not take itself. Function will not say, I'm not taking this variable because this variable is not holding a string value, it is holding a null. Therefore this function is not taking that as an input argument value, not processing the code inside of it, not returning any value which will be stored in this variable. So that is it's returning general run error. This also returning general run error. So I have given so this is the one, and this one is give area. So where these functions is widely used. So I have worked in many different IT companies. So based on my experience, what I have seen that this function is widely used in logical statements. Logical statements, and the logical statements is like this: if this entire thing is greater than 0, if the entire thing is greater than 0, then do this, or else do this. Do that. So this within this if logical statement, this function is widely used based on the experience I have working in many different IT companies. What this means, what this logical statement means, if this function returns any number which is greater than 0, that means string 2 is present in string 1. Any number that is greater than 0, that means string 2 is present in string 1. So in automation scripts we we will see many logical statements that has this condition and also has this condition as well, equal. If this equals 0, then do this, else do that. This logical statement also widely used. What it means this if what if means for this particular scenario, if string 2 is not present in string 1, then it will return 0. So if that is the case, if this string returns 0 and 0 equal to 0, then do this, else do that. So based on this logical statement, this string 2 is not present. This condition means this string is not present in this string. So these are the two logical statements where this InStr function is widely used. Based on the experience I have working in many different IT companies, I have seen many automation scripts in many different IT companies. I have found that this function is widely used in if logical statement the most. And this is my experience. This is the statement based on my experience. So I have given all this. I also explained this too. So I have given in detail explanation of all of this. There are two corrections that I made. That is, instead of null, it will be general and error, and here instead of just match, it will be the first match. These two corrections I made. Other the things I have copied from here. So that's all for this tutorial video. Thank you for watching, and my name is MD Shahajada Imran. If you do not know, that is my full legal name, and this is my nickname. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.